You guys can still see the stream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright,
You're
cool.
on gold right now, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We're
Ain't got
gonna.
the real time data.
Hell yeah, have to.
Too rich.
Aye.
Probably just pay for
It's
that.
like $8 or some shit for
That's
CME data.
up.
Alright.
Yes.
One.
37, 19. Caught like a couple points there, but
Yeah, ES is $50 a point.
it's better than NQ.
Well, no, because it moves slower, essentially. That's what I
Oh,
mean.
okay. If it's good or if you can catch a move, then right? Or
Well, so, yeah, that's everything, though.
Alright, cool. So let's get started. So you guys can still see?
yeah.
Yep.
Alright, cool. So we're looking at ZB1, which is the 30-year bonds, and I know there's probably nobody here that trades bonds. I don't trade bonds either, but if you can get good at telling the high time frame direction of bonds, then it'll tell you the high time frame direction of dollar. And if you know the high time frame direction of dollar, then you have a really, really good kind of framework and structure to be able to tell what's going to happen with risk on assets. Risk on assets being, a lot of the different tech stocks, NQ, ES, BTC, ETH, SOL, all the kinds of things that we actually really want to trade. So even though we don't trade these things, understand that the reason we look at bonds at all is because we're kind of looking at interest rates. And interest rates, as you can see last, was it Wednesday during FOMC, whatever happens with the interest rates really, really has a big effect on the market. So
Correct.
for those of you guys who are really trying to, make it to where you're really boosting your win rate, I promise you, if you start looking at bonds and dollar, um, you're gonna really, really improve in your trading. And that was one of the mistakes that I made recently by going short on Sol. Uh, a lot of you guys know that I really like to trade fair value gaps. And if you don't know what that is or how to find them, shoot me a message. I'll send you guys like a real quick, easy video that kind of tells you how to look at them and also how to kind of use them practically. But I ended up going short on Sol while we were still in this weekly fair value gap, which was a really bad idea, right? And like I said, so bonds go up, dollar goes down. Um, Risk on assets go up. Okay, so that's kind of why we're looking at bonds right now. So if we look across pretty much all the different bonds, we can see that we're moving up. It is very strong, right? We have some really good movement to the upside, and now we're getting a pullback into another fair value gap. So as we pull back into here, if you want to get a little bit surgical with it, you could drop down to the daily and wait till you start seeing this kind of rounding out, right? Want to see a higher low be put in here and start moving back up into the swing high or ERL. And that will be able to kind of give you a really nice, like, hey, for the next few days, I'm not going to be really looking for shorts. It's going to be in my best interest to be looking more so for longs. Uh, and this is kind of how I usually navigate the market. And even though that loss the other, whatever it was, a week or two ago happened, if you guys have been kind of following along, for the most part, I'm pretty accurate with being able to tell what's going to happen with majors. And obviously, that can also be very useful information if you're trading on chain. Um, like I said, all of this stuff, if you guys can implement it, it's going to make your trading a lot more secure. You're going to have a lot more confidence. And that's the thing, right? When you have a plan, the whole point of even creating a plan as a trader is to eliminate anxiety. You eliminate the anxiety, then you don't have to deal with, ah, shit, maybe I should just hop out now. Maybe I should hold till here. You have something that's way more defined, and you don't have to wrestle with so much emotions, right? Because as all of us know, pretty much everybody in here has had their fair share of trading. So I know you guys know what it's like to wrestle with different amounts of emotion, right? And we always want to make that as little as possible for ourselves. So with that being said, bonds looking strong. Uh, Dollar right now is looking a little bit strong as we pull back, right? Which makes sense. Like as we said, bonds pull back, we can see dollar reacting, right? Um, and what we're really waiting for, right, is on across all the three different bonds, the 30-year, the 10-year, the 5-year, is we're waiting for that confirmation now, right? Kind of like we see in these weekly IRLs previously, we got that confirmation that we're starting to round out. Obviously, there's a lot more ways to really get good confirmation, but I'm not going to go into that today. Just know that this was a setup that most of the guys that have been studying with me are able to see. Now, we're going to move on to equities now. And as we can see, right, we are in all-time highs. We're in price discovery, and price is really, really strong right now. And part of the reason that it's really strong is because we're about to move into quarter four, which, if you think about quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, quarter four, quarter one, usually, as we can see here, is really nicely illustrated. Quarter one was very much accumulation. Quarter two, a little bit of quarter three, manipulation. And most of quarter three has been extreme expansion. Not just expansion, right? But you think about, we look at these candles and we remember that each one of these candles is a representation of what price has done in a certain time period, which if we are on the weekly, right, each one of these candlesticks represents 1 week's worth of time. Now, how much would your trading benefit from being able to see something like this and say, okay, hey, I got bullish, let's say here, then for 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. You count all of those bullish weeks. If you're able to go into the different weeks with that kind of preconceived notion that we are to be predisposed to be bullish, you're gonna filter out a lot of losing trades, a lot of trades that don't really make as much sense as to going long. And I know that it can kind of feel, I know definitely for me, right, that I had been going long on Sol pretty much this whole move up, and right about up into here, this is where I ended up taking a loss. And part of the reason that I took that loss was because I was just thinking to myself, man, we have been moving up so strong, just as expected. It makes sense that usually in September we get a little bit of a pullback, so that's what I would like to see, right? Obviously, that didn't happen. We can still take a piece of information from that. What happens in a month where we're usually predisposed to be bearish and we're actually bullish, that actually gives us a very important piece of information. We kind of had the same thing happen around May where it was supposed to be a lot more bearish and it wasn't. And the following months ended up being more bullish, more stronger. So the fact that September has been so good to us and so kind and giving us, well, not kind to me, but uh, kind to those who, for all of those people that were able to hold on to their positions and still be long, um, we should take this as a signal of, hey, we're really getting ready to attack these new all-time highs for Bitcoin, ETH. I mean, ETH has already been, it's a monster right now. But to continuously make new and new highs. So we have this distribution. Q4 is going to be much of the same. We're going to see October and November specifically definitely propel us higher. And then December is where you kind of want to take a little bit of a step back because usually for the yearly candle, right, if we start looking at these yearly candles, um, you would consider this last little pullback here kind of December, right? And if you go back and you look, the pullbacks on the last month are not always super prominent, but it's definitely a good time to start taking profits and really think about what's going to be your next plan of action. Because as we can see here, right, December hits, we start pulling back. New year starts, we get the consolidation, manipulation, distribution. Now, based upon this high time frame structure, it makes a lot of sense to me that we see something very similar in this next year for Q1. I wouldn't be surprised if Q1 ends up looking much of the same. How deep it will pull back, I would really like it to come into this gap right here. We have a very, very important breaker block in here as well. Um, and see much of the same thing, especially because, again, if I go onto the yearly chart, a lot of us know, and if you don't know, when you see really, really long wicks like this, like these two candles specifically, these are reversal candles. And what typically follows after a reversal candle you're going to see is a continuation candle, much like this one, right? The next year was a continuation candle. Um, there's not a lot of I mean, I could go to a different chart, but you get the idea. So after reversal candles, we really want to start thinking about, okay, this next year, we're likely going to have a continuation candle. And the way that we think about continuation candles is that they have a very small open low, very, very strong body, and then a small retracement at the end, right? So from a high time frame perspective, that's kind of where my mind is at. Um, Now, bringing it a little bit more to the current picture, and remember, everything that I say for ES or NQ, it's gonna apply to BTC, ETH, and SOL because although they may move a little bit more, let's say, exaggerated because they're a newer asset class, they are still very much correlated. The people that say things like, oh, they're no longer correlated or something like that, yes, the idea is for Bitcoin to be a risk-off asset, much like gold, but it doesn't, so far, it hasn't really done that yet. It doesn't have as much liquidity as the indices do. So we treat it as correlated assets until we see something very, very convincing, which, in my opinion, we have not really seen yet. So, just like I said, everything I say for these charts here, it's gonna apply to Bitcoin, ETH, and SOL, and we'll look at them a little bit towards the end. So bringing the scope down a little bit and kind of narrowing down on the picture, let's talk about October. October, I'm not gonna bring up the seasonal tendency chart, but if you want it, just DM me and I'll send you a link to the one that I use. If you're willing to dish out a little bit of change for the best ones, just look up Steve Moore seasonal tendency charts. Those are going to be the best ones, most accurate. Um, but typically we see October have an open, low, high, close, almost like a continuation candle. And it makes a lot of sense, right? We've seen this current candle is very, very strong. Think about it, 5 months of just pretty much going straight up after we put in what to me looks like, I was saying this at the time that this is probably the biggest reversal candle that I've seen on any chart at all. And NQ does have more history, but if I'm going all the way back to 1998 and you still don't see a reversal candle nearly as prominent as this one, even going back to kind of COVID times, the fact that the reversal candle for this one is bigger, and this is kind of when the tariff stuff was going on. Um, Again, it gives us that signal that we need to really kind of get out of this maybe idea that, hey, things have been going up for a long time, maybe it's time to short. You don't want to concern yourself with trying to pick the top or the bottom because you will hurt yourself. And if you do decide to go short, it's not to say that you can't take shorts, but if you're going to do that, at least do it with, making an educated decision that you know that you're not on the right side of the market, which is fine. You can still make money, you know, going against the trend, but at least do so with appropriate risk. For me personally, for shorts, I'm not taking anything as a full position, only half. Um, at least until maybe we get into December, January. I would much rather catch that as you can see here, right? Like from Q1 all the way down to around Q2. That's going to be where the best short is. Q1 all the way down to this one goes all the way down to pretty much Q4 puts in the bottom. Um, you want to be positioning yourself with that relativity to time. So for October, we're kind of looking for a candle that looks like this, where the new month opens up October 1st. We get a little bit of a accumulation, very, very small low. And once you start seeing things go like this, you want to be, again, a little bit of a bull tard. You don't want to try to catch this top. especially with the kind of president that we have in office right now, where one of his main and primary objectives is to really push the stock market, where he sees stock market as an indication almost of how well he may be doing as a president, right? So there's a lot of factors beyond that of why we should be incredibly bullish. Other than the fact that, again, if I zoom out, if I go to a 3-month chart, gun to your head, if you have to take more shorts or more longs, the answer should be very, very clearly obvious. And this is why a lot of people, they put their money in these indices because reliably, year over year, you're at least going to make somewhere to the tune of 7%, I believe it is. So that being said, now we can kind of drop down to the weekly and start looking at levels that would be of interest, right? We have, I know my students know this to be a devil's mark. In reality, it's just a wickless candle. It's a candle that doesn't have a wick on the bottom. That usually gives us a really, really good signal that we're likely to really return here, right? And don't apply this to gold. I'm, I'm not so sure how well it works on the high time frame on gold. But for indices, I know that it works very well. For crypto, I know that it works very well. So for me personally, looking at ES, I really like this fair value gap. I also have my eye on this order block right here, although it's not very big, it's still an order block. And I really like framing a lot of my levels just starting from the higher time frame because again, if you can be in line with the higher time frame trend, you're going to filter out a really, really big amount of losses. And you can go and you can back test this. I think it's a really good idea for you to do something like that. So for me on ES, this is kind of the level that I'm looking at. NQ, we would see something pretty similar, right? We have this same gap, very, very small wick down here, and then we have the weekly order block, right? And the daily that we're going to be using, right? We want to wait for the daily to start pulling back into these levels. And again, we want to see kind of a rounding out, so to speak, right? Want to see this kind of put in a higher low and continue on. Maybe we come down here to these lows. I wouldn't bet on it. Um, you don't really want to be playing conservative. You have to understand that when we're in all-time highs, things move aggressively. If you go back and you look at any of the other times that we were in all-time highs, you'll see that the moves up are pretty aggressive, and this is where a lot of bears they end up getting really, really messed up because it just again it doesn't make sense, but it doesn't have to make sense in terms of like a rationality perspective of it's been going up for this long, it doesn't matter, right? Could look at a lot of different markets that are not very rational in that sense. So that's what I'm looking at for NQ, BTC. BTC, it looks a little bit, you know, at first, part of the reason I had went short on Sol is because we have this market structure break right here. We created a bearish IRL. Uh, the thing that I failed to take into consideration, and it's not even that I didn't consider it, I definitely saw it. But there's just a part of me that wanted better entries. We reacted off of this weekly order block so far, and we've done it pretty well. Now we have this weekly IRL here, right? And so I wouldn't like for a price on a weekly perspective to close below here. Um, I take this as my order block, my new weekly order block, um, and I want to see that respected. Now, it's completely possible that price comes down here and sweeps this low first and then goes, and that's part of, again, this is part of the reason that I was bearish initially, because if you notice, if I zoom out on the weekly, I can go very, very, very far back and I can show you that before any really, really big moves up, we almost always have a sweep, right? There's a sweep there of a swing low, there's a sweep here of a swing low, here's another, right? And we can see that is a really reoccurring theme on the weekly chart, and you really want to keep your eyes out for this. This is why looking on the higher time frame can give you a pretty significant edge. Notice that we don't sweep this low, right? We market structure break it. We get a really, really tricky move up that probably caught a lot of people. But for those that waited for the sweep, they were rewarded with a pretty nice, handsome move, right? Same thing also when price is going to reverse lower, right? And we can see that here. And again, I can zoom back and show you more, but I'm not going to. But just that thought that, hey, usually we get a sweep before we get any sort of meaningful move up or down, right? Here's another. So I would
Even
actually,
that last sweep at the bottom is like when I bought it, and I have proof of that one.
yeah, yeah, it's a
That's where I
really,
bought.
really nice thing to look at. It's going to give you a lot of information. And yeah, me, Fat, and a lot of the other people that trade these same concepts, I mean, we were on the fucking money with this one, right? This is why it was so easy for me to call longs on Sol and just be it. I mean, it's a beautiful thing when my job is just to get on the timeline and say, guys, let's all be retards together and just scream out bullish for every single week that goes by. I love seeing it, and it's just a lot of fun. So, for me personally, I would still really like if we came down and swept here. Um, Again, remember that the crypto assets, they move more exaggerated than indices do. So it would make sense to me if NQ and ES, they start pulling into these levels, and BTC comes down to sweep here, and then we get that another sweep, and then we come back into these highs. Okay. And once again, I know most of you probably already know this, but if you don't, remember that Bitcoin is the spearhead of crypto. If Bitcoin is not doing good, the likelihood that the other crypto assets are doing good is very low, right? So, like in a time like this, mostly everything's getting fucked. You don't really want to be long if you're seeing this on Bitcoin. Maybe with the exception of ETH, especially for altcoin season, right? We've seen that ETH has been really, really strong recently. Um, Even took out its all-time high. So I would also like to see a pullback on ETH into this level here. And what's really nice about the ETH chart, I would much rather be long on ETH than I would Bitcoin, is that we could get the sweep in here in the key level, and we have a bullish order block here, right? So those kinds of things I'm really, really excited to see hopefully play out in this next new month. It's going to be a really, really big opportunity to make a lot of money. If you guys have had the privilege to be around looking at the charts and trading for around a year or so, then that's really, really good information to be getting because you know that you've seen something like this before, and you can take um, a lot of advantage of having seen these kind of same things play out. A lot of people that were trading meme coins, even if they weren't looking at majors, all of them unanimously, from all the ones that I've ever spoken to, and myself included, Q4 is always the best because we get that last blow off top. Everything's going crazy, everything's euphoric. Trump's launching a fucking meme coin, like crazy shit just happens Q4. And then December, you get that small little pullback where it's not such a drastic pullback that everything's going to get fucked. Actually, the opposite happens where the small pullback allows the money from the majors to start trickling down into altcoins on chain, right? When everybody's making a lot of money, you're going to see a lot more market participants in the other smaller markets. So that's what I'm looking at for ETH, right? Sol is another one that I really think, I mean, I've always said it that Sol's the poor man's ETH, and because of that, because it's a newer asset, what Ethereum is to Bitcoin, I consider Sol to be to ETH. Um, so I really think that we're gonna get some new strong all-time highs. I personally had price target of around $500, but if I were to be more conservative, kind of this 330 to 360 level, um, that's you know the most reasonable thing. If you put a gun to my head and I had to say 500 or 360, obviously I'm going to say 360, right? But 500 definitely isn't out of the picture. There's a lot of reasons for this to do so well. If you look at BNB coin right now, I mean I mean, last time I looked at it, at least it was popping off pretty hard. Yep, it's popping off really, really hard. And if we go back and we kind of look at kind of BT or BNB's kind of like life cycle, a lot of the reason why it pumped so hard is because it was the home of the shit coins. And now it kind of shares that space with Solana. So this is one that I'm really, really excited about. Definitely think that you should be allocating some resources, some dry powder to this coin. I know a lot of us already know, you know, probably big Solana fans in here. So we have that weekly fair value gap, right? And we have this weekly order block, right? So if we come anywhere into here and we start basing out from here to here, you could get a really, really nice move, right? That is not a small move by any means. You're pretty much going to see this leg replicated um, at the end of this pullback. So that's what I'm looking at for Solana. Not very complicated. Like I said, if you guys are maybe having trouble seeing the fair value gaps, you don't even need to watch a video. There's indicators that will literally do it for you. If you just come into indicators and type in FEG, there's 1,000 different indicators that will draw them for you. But obviously, I'm going to advocate learn how to do it. We're not even in Q4 yet. Take advantage of the information. Take advantage of there's people in here that have been around for multiple cycles, have a lot of information to give, and if you can apply it, 2026 is going to treat you very well because for me personally, I also see 2026 being very bullish. Um, I don't know as much as this year, but I do think that 2026 is going to turn out really well. Uh, so those are my thoughts on the market right now. Not really interested in doing too much. Usually the first and last week of a month, I try to tone it down a little bit because those two middle weeks, those are the ones where you end up seeing the most action. Um, but like I said, I'm really waiting for that October. Right as soon as October starts, I'm gonna map out my monthly open, and I just want to see a small move below and some form of market structure break so that I can get on board and hopefully catch this move here, which I feel pretty confident about. Other than that, though, that's pretty much all I had. Is there anything, any questions, any like coins you guys wanted to look at or call outs, whatever? If Serial was in here, I know that he'd be begging for Fartcoin. So in his honor, we'll take a look at Fartcoin. I don't know if it's even doing good anymore. I don't know if it's doing good anymore, but oh yeah,
Bro,
that's
what
nice,
the
not
hell is
fucking good.
that?
That's not good.
Um,
But for study purposes, we can see again, right? What happened before Fartcoin died? We saw a sweep, right? Now, why does Fartcoin look like this? I'm pretty sure it has something to do with Pumpcoin, but it is coming into a really nice level. Uh, we have weekly order block, weekly fair value gap, and notice, right, that a lot of these same assets, although they don't look the same, um, they have a lot of similarities. Like a lot of these coins are barely moving into their weekly gaps, weekly order blocks, right? And personally, this looks a lot to me like Ethereum, right? And kind of bear with me and tell me if you feel like I'm reaching or not. But one of the things that I called out on Ethereum that seemed crazy at the time is I said, look, I know it's kind of crazy to call this an accumulation, but I really think that's the accumulation. This is the manipulation, and we're about to get a big distribution into here. Yes, I really did call this really, really nice move. Did I make any money off of it? No, that's fine. But called the move, so it looks kind of similar to me personally. We go back to the Fartcoin chart. Whoop, wrong one. We come back to the Fartcoin chart, and I am just kind of seeing this same thing where it looks like a really big accumulation, manipulation into a key level the same way that ETH did, and hopefully we get just as big a distribution. Don't know if it does, but another one we'll take a look at is Pump. Since this is the main coin that, I mean, is associated with the trenches, I really do think that there's going to be a lot of opportunity to make some money on this coin. Um, Obviously, this one's a lot more speculative. We're kind of trusting Elon to do his thing. We're trusting that meme coins will continue to pop off in Q4, which I really do think that it will. And if meme coins are going to be popping off in Q4, then it makes sense that if Pump is the one that's kind of providing most of the runners, that this is the main coin that we want to get involved in. Now, when I have a chart like this and there's a some really big gaps, what I like to do is I'll take the fair value gap and I'll just cut it in half. Now, it doesn't mean that I have to take anything at this midpoint. For as far as I know, we could come all the way back down here, and like a lot of the other coins, we come back down into this weekly order block and we start to base out. I don't think we get that low. I would start to look for a basing out on pump, kind of around that mid level, and then maybe back up into here. And then as an extended target, we get these levels up here. Um, but yeah, those are the only two other coins that I think maybe people would care about. So, well, kind of open it up to you guys one more time. And any requests, questions?
Yeah, yo, Grim. Check Aster on BNB.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Is it Aster Aster? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, yeah.
I know Mr. Carroll was talking to me about this one. Okay, so we have a daily gap. Once again, this is a pretty big gap. Let's see if we could see anything a little bit more actionable on the 4 hour. Okay, so what I would do here is I would like to cut this in half. Cut it in half. I'm not going to pay attention to any part of the gap that's not inside discount. Okay. Now, what I would really want to see on this coin, this just looks like a retracement to me. Obviously, that's a crazy move up. That's a really, really big move up. Some form of retracement, is to be expected. Now, we can see a sweep kind of forming. Let's see, we tap? And we did tap discount. So it could start reversing from here. Now, what would I want to see in order for me to start taking a position? Now, it's going to vary based upon if you're trying to DCA this coin. DCAing right now is a really good idea. Anywhere near this kind of discount or this key level is going to be a good time to start putting your money. But if you're going to be taking a leveraged position, what you want to see is okay, well, there's no gaps here. Let's see, maybe the 30-minute. I would like to see this level right here flipped. Okay, so taking a 30-minute fair value gap, we'll go ahead and just pop in these price levels. If this were to get closed above, and this is as good a coin as everybody's making it seem, um, that's what I would be looking for. I'd be waiting. We already got a sweep. We already tapped the key level. Now I just need some confirmation. Close above here, right? We can take the position and we can start aiming for higher. We can start aiming for here, here. Definitely these relative equal highs look suspect. Um, but yeah, for leverage position, I'd be waiting for that confirmation. If you're a believer in the coin, if you maybe know something about it or whatever, um, I would definitely start DCAing some now, DCA some more if we can close above that level, and save definitely some more in case we kind of dig a little bit deeper into here. Because so far, right, if I just kind of map out the 1 hour gaps, we can see that they've provided us with good information, right? We reacted very nicely off of this bearish one, right? And so if we flip that, that's another level to be, kind of paying attention to. But for me, this chart looks good, even though it's retracing down. That makes sense to me. Retracements are a part of the game. Price never just moves like this. It moves a lot more like this. We have these kind of retracements into a key level, and then we start moving up. And definitely, again, think about time, right? If we start pushing lower and then October hits, and then we're at like October 4th or 5th, 6th, 7th, and you start things curling up, start throwing on some cash into this position. What is this coin, Appy? Is it like a W fundamentals or what? Or do we not know?
Wait, what did you say?
What is this coin?
It's like a new DEX on Binance,
Oh
and
wow.
the owner of Binance promoted it.
Oh wow. Okay, that's actually
And
really fire.
apparently Mr. Beast aped this.
Oh shit. That's, I mean, even without the Mr. Beast thing, like, if BNB's kind of trying to come back into the shitcoin game, which they kind of, kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit. At least, I don't know. I'm not super involved with that chain. Haven't seen a lot of people give me a reason to, but it's always good to be early. And the Binance chart, as we saw earlier, looks fucking insane. It looks way better than almost all the other ones. Um, so yeah, I mean, this coin. It's brand new. It's a DEX. It could be the revival of Binance shitcoins, which I always like that kind of casino a little bit better. It always felt easier, but um, yeah, good call out. I'll definitely be looking at this one. Remember, we're just looking for things to base out a little bit, and as soon as they start curling up, as simple or maybe even retarded as that seems, it's a key level. We get these moves off of key levels, so that's what I'd be looking at. Anybody else? Any other requests, questions? All right, cool. Okay, so other than that, all I'm gonna say is if you guys are looking to improve your trading and you don't want to buy the mentorship, join at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Just hop in to the VC. We're always trading Nasdaq. We're always trading ES, trading the indices. And those concepts they do apply to shit coins and anything else that you trade. And you don't have to take my word for it. There's already students that are, you know, absolutely killing it on meme coins and all these other crazy assets, gold. Um, and just come in and it's free for you guys. You can ask me questions. You guys can always DM me. Obviously, with a mentorship, it's different. You're gonna get a one-on-one call with me, and we're gonna sit down and kind of track your progress. But still, I'm always willing to point any one of you guys in the right direction. Places that I went to learn, people that I think are really good to learn from. There's so much bullshit in the space. Um, you start polluting your mind. You learn the wrong way, and then you have to unlearn the wrong way, and then learn the right way. Um, and if what you have works for you, then good. Then you don't need my help or anybody else's. But yeah, so that and again, another thing, last thing, I'm gonna try to really make it a point to do these every single Sunday because they don't just help whoever joins the call, but they also really, really help me. I was going back, kind of watching some of the old ones. Like, man, we were really killing it. Everybody was on the same page. It doesn't mean that we're always right about every single trade or the direction, but doing analysis like this at the beginning of a week can really, really change how well you traded and really bump those win percentages up. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Appreciate you guys joining. Appreciate you taking the time. And yeah, feel free to DM me, whatever. All right, fellas. I'll
Later, Grim.
see you guys Monday,
Later.
9:30 for those who want to join.
Yep, tomorrow.
All right, peace out, guys.
That's it.